Takes us now to item 15.1, which is two pieces of legislation regarding the first is a resolution rescinding a resolution adopted December 4th, 2007 to restore a resolution that was passed August 30th, 1949, which granted a revocable permit for the maintenance and operation of a spur track on and across 23rd Avenue, 29th Avenue, Derby Street, Lancaster Street, Ford Street, and the pond and along Glasscock between 29th Avenue. And the second is a resolution authorizing the city administrator to negotiate and execute a letter of understanding and subsequent cooperative agreement with the California Department of Transportation to close the railroad crossing at 5th Avenue, known as the Hannon Lead, provided that certain railroad safety and community improvements are implemented. And you have two speakers on the item. Move approval. It was, well, you don't have, I don't. We need to have a quorum seated. It was moved by Councilmember Kaplan and Councilmember Reed seconded the action of 50.1.
No, we're having a little bit of a struggle here that we should have publicly. This is a big issue, and so we need to really discuss it. So,
there are changes other than what we just moved?
I don't know what we just moved. I'm sorry.
We moved the recommendation.
Yes. Well, the recommendation is.
Would you like a brief report?
No, I just want the motion. I know more about this than I need to know.
Jane, you know, not all of us know. I think it'd be good, a really brief report, please.
Oh, okay, a report. And give the different sides and what the issue is that is the problem that we've been trying to solve all night and have not gotten there.
I'm not going to touch that. The city administrator may do that. I'll give the background.
Well, between the city administrator and I, we can get there.
Okay. Briefly, the background is the Union Pacific Railroad has a couple of freight customers in the Central Estuary area near the Park Street Bridge. They currently have two ways of serving those customers: the Hannon Lead, which comes down to Barcadero, and the Glasscock Spur that comes off of the Fruitvale track. The City Council in December of 2007 revoked the Union Pacific Railroad permit for the Glasscock Spur. The railroad's coming down the Hannon Lead only. Caltrans has a seismic retrofit project for the 5th Avenue overpass. That project is currently being held up by the city's negotiations with the railroad. In order to expedite those negotiations, Caltrans has stepped in and offered to help the city out by picking up the city's costs for the safety, both near-term and long-term safety requirements that the California Public Utilities Commission has recommended for the Glasscock Spur if train traffic is to resume there, and also have offered approximately $1.2 million worth of other public improvements in the Glasscock area. So what staff is recommending is that the council take the action to rescind the action they did in December of 2007 and restore Union Pacific Railroad's permit to operate on the Glasscock track, and direct the city administrator to enter into a letter of understanding and eventually a cooperative agreement so that all of the public improvements that are referenced in the report can be built, and that we have a reimbursement agreement worked out with Caltrans to pay for those. So those are the two recommendations that staff has.
Do you want to set the stage here for a minute, Mr. De La Fuente? Well, let's set the stage, then we'll get speakers, and then we'll open it up. But you should set the stage.
Let's get the speakers first.
But I don't think people will follow the speakers unless you set the stage.
Well, I was trying to see if we can reach a compromise so we can actually move forward with this. But it's a very complicated issue, Madam Chair. The reality is that when this issue is related to 1229, and I didn't want, obviously we're gonna get into, so might as well get into it. But the whole concern here is that the Caltrans definitely doing the retrofit in the 5th Avenue and the 880 freeway. This was years before actually the city was included. There was discussions between Caltrans, UP, and the port. So finally, it was agreed that when I found out, it was agreed that the Hannon Lane, which is the railroad track that goes in the west side, right, the other side of the freeway, 880, between 880 and the water, will be taken down, will be taken out. And the train will be rerouted to the other side of the freeway. And now it will go through Glasscock, which is the Kennedy track. And we have built quite a few condominiums and units in that area. So now the biggest issue that we have...
So it's moving from one side of the...
Correct.
Freeway or the road?
One side of the freeway to the other side of the freeway.
Okay.
Closing the handle lane, which is the lane is going to the side of the water side. Now the train is going to go, and it's going to go on, going to turn on Fruitvale, going to turn on Glasscock, and now the train is going to block the access and the egress for people and the ambulances and fire trucks. So the biggest concern that we have is the issue of safety. So we've been trying to figure out a way to deal with it. Secondly was an agreement that has been negotiated with Caltrans about improvements, and there's a list of improvements in the supplemental report. The problem is that the city attorney's office that had been in negotiations representing the city wrote a memo that I think all of you guys have, which many of the concerns that they have in that agreement, concerns that they have not been able to address to this day. So that's one issue. The second issue is that we know that the issue of safety is going to create a situation where all those residents will take action against the city or will take action against the challenging the fact that the CEQA was this project was designed by CEQA with no real analysis or no real analysis of the impacts of what this change will create. And now we know that this resident is going to come probably sue the city. So the whole idea that we were trying to compromise here tonight is to figure out a way that it is a Caltrans project. It is a project that's going to impact that neighborhood. It is a project that's going to have problems with safety for those residents, and we're going to be responsible for that. So the whole idea was to try to figure out a compromise in that agreement to include indemnification, which is one of the things that the city attorney is recommending. They've been trying to do for the last several months. And that memo that they wrote outlines some of the concerns that they have and some of the things that we should have in that agreement. And we don't have some of those things in that agreement. So for that reason, I think that, and again, we'll try to figure out a compromise, but so far we have not been able to do it, obviously. This is a major issue, not only because it's the fact that the freeway has to be retrofitted and the Fifth Avenue overpass has to be retrofitted, but at the same time, we cannot do it at the expense of another neighborhood. I just happen to represent that neighborhood, just the same way that you did when it was the issue of the tunnel, the same way that we do when it's an issue in another district, that will be East Oakland or West Oakland. And unless we make sure that especially the issue of safety are taken care of, we will have a major problem, and we will have major lawsuits by some of the residents in the Kennedy Track neighborhood. And that's what we've been trying to do tonight, but we haven't been able to do it. So I can tell you that I'm not prepared to support a resolution that will create a situation where the city are the one that will become responsible and will become liable at the expense of the neighborhood. So
thank you.
We'll hear the speakers, and then we'll hear some comments, and then we'll go from there.
Let me have Mr. Lindheim, and then we'll hear the speakers.
So actually, this is a fairly simple situation. There's a 880 freeway overpass that needs to be retrofitted. If it's not retrofitted and there's an earthquake, there'll be a major disaster. There's no question about that. The real question is, we really have two choices. Neither of them are excellent choices. One is we can accept the agreement that's recommended by staff that we've negotiated with Caltrans, in which the freeway gets retrofitted soon, and the $1.2 million in community benefits for the Glasscock area and the $135,000 in improvements, safety improvements for the area, are paid for by Caltrans. Or we can wait until Caltrans pushes this project